Hey everybody, it is Cinnamon Cooney, your Art Sherpa, and today I would really love to show you how you can create this gorgeous full moon reflecting over rippling water in the ocean. It's got clouds, it's got drama, it's got dappled light, lots of stuff that you're really going to enjoy painting. I'm going to explain to you every part of the process of how to create that for yourself at home. To help me do that is my husband, John.
Hey guys.
He's going to make sure that the camera is focused on the techniques and things that I'm explaining to you, making it so much easier to be able to create this painting for yourself. Now, if you came by because you're a full moon fan, that is completely awesome. Maybe this is the only painting you want to do, and that is totally okay. But you might notice that he has 29 other little friends. This is part of a 30-day painting series that you are totally invited to join. Get your paint, get your brushes, come back and meet me at the easel right now. We're going to paint this full moon. Today's color palette is going to be quinacridone magenta, cad red medium, cad yellow medium, Naples yellow light, phthalo green, phthalo blue, doxazine purple, and titanium white. We're going to start out by painting our entire 8x8 canvas with a single color, and today's single color is going to be purple. I'm going to get my brush wet, drag off the extra water, flip it over, load, and paint this whole thing with this fantastic color. Once you have your entire surface purple, and a nice even coat of doxazine purple, and it's dry, I'm going to take my chalk tool, and I'm also going to take a T-square ruler and measure out every 1 inch, making a mark, and I'm going to use this to draw straight lines. I'm going to do this vertically and horizontally, creating a 1 inch by 1 inch grid. Once your grid is entirely in, you're going to want to number the grid 1 through 8 across the top and 1 through 8 down the side from top to bottom, like so. This will help it match the reference that you have. And what that's going to do is all you have to do is draw what you see in each individual square instead of trying to draw everything all together all at once. It's just a nice way to bridge learning how to draw. And when I'm using this method, this gridding method, I'm going to look at my reference and go, okay, so across my number 4 line across here, that is my horizon line. And I'll make that in a little bit stronger. And then if I come under that 4 line, I see the first little mark of perhaps a wave or a dark value that's coming over. So I'm going to just bring that across. And maybe I'll see its little partner right here. Each time I just go through and I draw what's in that square, what's in that square. So let's do this for the whole piece. And when we're done, we'll have a nice little moon and seascape. All right, that's all you've got to do for step 1. You've let yourself know where the moon is, you know where your horizon line is, and where the shadows for your waves are, and maybe even a few guidelines for where your clouds are. In step 2, we're going to come back and I'm going to show you how to do the sky. Here we are, step 2. We're going to start putting in some of the clouds and some of the more dramatic elements of our sky. That's always really, really fun for me. I'm going to grab my number 8 Cambridge. That's a really good brush for this. It's a mix of boar bristles and synthetic filaments. And that's nice because it's still scratchy, but it doesn't get as waterlogged as maybe some other things. I'm going to come in and take a little bit of my blue, and I'm going to add a smidge of my white to it. From these outside edges, I'm going to begin to speak about the distant little cloud spaces. Hey, John.
Yeah.
I think you're just being chill today, huh?
You're just like, are you there?
Yeah.
Is there a ghost in the machine controlling the cameras? Or...
Well, one would hope so. But you never know. I can bring this up over the top. It's nice. I may need to put out a little more of my purple. It's nice to kind of blend the blue into the purple a bit. We're trying to create a very dramatic sky. Very dramatic. be dramatic with your sky, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe not in your life, but for sure, it's great to be dramatic with your sky. I'm just pulling this in. I'm kind of just trying to bring in a very uneven, random little cloud space. There's a sweeping motion that's going on here. I can even come over here to the side, get back into my purple again in case it's needed. How you do? Kind of pulling those in. It's a play back and forth, sir.
Mm.
The
They're,
drama in our paintings is very important.
they're kind of shadow trees.
Yeah. I think it's just nice to create in your artwork more than what we do in our photographs. Though I don't mean in any way to say photographers don't add more than what, they objectively see, because they certainly do. There's a lot of artistic license. But there's this space in our imaginations, I feel. Can you see in them kind of the brush is sort of parallel to the canvas and I'm wiggling it back and forth
Mm-hmm.
to help get a random nice beginning of what might be the blue kind of edging along the sky, along the bottom there. That looks pretty good. Now, coming back in though, I kind of want to get a little bit of magenta.
Mm-hmm.
I like magenta. Do you also like magenta?
I do.
I'm going to make a fun color though. I'm going to take a little of my Cad Red and a lot of my magenta, and I'm going to mix it with my Naples Yellow Light. And I get this amazing color. I love it a ton, and it looks really awesome here. I'm going to bring this into my clouds a bit. You can even come over where you know you're going to put your moon, just so that it layers well into the sky. I have a bit of a firm line. What I did is I created an inner line on my moon, just a little bit smaller than what I needed. That way I have room to make my moon bigger as I'm painting out. It gives me just a nice extra bit of room to potentially break that up. And you can see I'm again doing that sideways. Trying to make some uneven the cloud forms coming underneath here. A little bit lighter. Just playing with how much Naples Yellow goes in that really incredible mix, which is again Cad Red, Quinacridone Magenta, and Naples Yellow. And again, I always say in this Quinacridone Magenta, but this specific tube of paint that I'm using is called Quinacridone Fuchsia. And that's always in the description labeled.
Quinacridone Fuchsia.
Yeah, because that's paint company calls that pigment Quinacridone Fuchsia.
Hmm.
But most paint companies have a very similar pigment under Quinacridone Magenta, which is why I do that. It's just really about paint companies and what they like to call their colors of paint. I'm going to grab a little more Naples Yellow. Light. Naples Yellow is another one of those colors. We used to call it Yellowgate.
That's right. Because there's some variations on it.
Yeah, one of them looks like an orange Band-Aid. Not the color we are looking for. We're looking for a yellow, slightly tinged green. And sometimes it's called completely different things, like Tight Knit Yellow. That's why it's always good to use those extra resources we provide.
Mm-hmm.
Because sometimes those have that extra bit of information. I'm just trying to make sure that my clouds are interesting and, gosh, just a little dynamic.
They are interesting. And they're a little dynamic. I'd
You
say
think so?
they're a lot dynamic.
I'm going to get a little more pink on there. That got a little yellow.
They're so dynamic, I'd say they'd think it's passé to say they're dynamic.
Get some more on your brush. Get a little shed off here on
What are
my.
you doing there?
I got hair on my canvas. All these little hairs on my canvas that I don't want on my little surface.
Mm.
I certainly don't want to pick that up on my brush. I'm just grabbing a little bit of my darker magenta. You can kind of see that I'm very carefully adding some of that deeper value. Side of the brush. You see how it's almost like parallel?
Mm-hmm.
These are great tonalities that you can play with. And you can play. Take that in and go, does that give you kind of a little bit of drama, a little bit of interest? And once you're happy with it, we're going to do an interesting thing. We're going to come into our Naples yellow and our cad yellow medium, mix them together, and add a bit of titanium white. And put that at the base here. Some. And sometimes it blends a little on the canvas. We don't mind.
That's a really powerful yellow against that background.
It's just
Mm-hmm.
you're having a good time here. I think, there's this thought of clouds being little white, puffy objects in the sky, like floating cotton balls that sometimes make animal shapes. But once you start painting a little bit, you'll start really looking at the sky quite differently and realizing that clouds just do so much more than little white puffed cotton balls. I'm going to bring that down a little bit. You can see I'm just using the brush to keep that shape rough. Sometimes learning to paint is about learning how to relax into these little moments.
Mm-hmm.
Because these little moments happen. This little moon glow is going on. I have one last little finishing touch I'm going to want to do in here. I'm going to take my yellow. I guess I'll grab just a bit of my Naples yellow into it. And my white. Just to do a highlight. Again, you can see it's almost a dry brush.
Hmm.
I'm not putting a lot of water. I'm not trying to blend. I'm layering some of these values into that little space. Dramatic on the top of the yellow. This is a fun thing to practice. You're learning a lot from that. And that's all we're going to do for, sir, you ready?
Mm-hmm.
That's all we're going to do for step 2.
Mm. All right.
All right. I'll join you back for step 3, and we're going to paint the moon. And John's going to tell me how that's not what the moon looks like.
Okay.
When I'm painting the moon, I'm going to want to use some different applications. I'm going to use brushes that give me smoother, more blended aspects to everything. I'm also going to be painting, the shadows and darkness and stuff that we're seeing in the moon. And that's why I was teasing John about saying that's not what the moon looks like, because I paint an artistic moon, not necessarily a factual moon. If you have somebody that loves astronomy in your life, sometimes it's a good idea to get a reference to the moon map and just duplicate that, because that'll make them happier. Is that about right, John?
That's about right.
That's about right. So I'm going to use my number 8 cat's tongue this time, and I'm going to get a small amount of my yellow and my white together just to start, just to begin. And sometimes you need to add, a nice amount of water to improve flow, because we do want the moon surface to be, and this edge here to be quite smooth against the sky. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So it's white and a little bit of the yellow. And mine is still picking up a bit of the purple, and that's okay. My big thing I'm going to be trying to do is make sure that I get a nice round shape. And now you know why I gave myself a little extra room to make the moon round. I generally need it. Circles. A big challenge. You know, and you just want to get back and evaluate as often as you can. Make small adjustments. And a thing that you can do if you want to is you can take an object that is round and trace around it, you know, like lids for things, mason jar lids, stuff like that can help you. But it is nice to learn how to basically do. Let me get a little bit of my Naples yellow and kind of work this in here. Like you do.
Like you do.
Like somebody do. All right. So that's not bad, right? We've got our circle in there. I'm going to rinse out. I'm going to make sure I have some clean water. Because sometimes to get bright colors, you really need clean water. And, you know, if the water is dirty, it might impact how that looks. Now, in the moon, I'm going to take a little bit of my cad orange and my yellow. My cad red and my yellow. And we're going to start maybe adding some moonscape. I like to wiggle the brush. And I'm going to be playing bits of darker landscape versus bits of lighter landscape. Down under here.
Landscape. These are words we use when describing the moon.
Well, moonscape. If you're on it, though, it's a landscape.
I suppose so.
It's the moon's landscape. I'm not on it. I don't know if any astronauts painted it, but if they did, they can call it whatever they like, actually, quite frankly. Anybody that managed to land on this thing and walk around, I'm going to let them do what they want to do.
For sure.
Just all the way. Come over the top here.
How long before I can Obi-Wan you?
I don't know.
That's no moon.
I mean, I'm not saying that never happens in my moons. Here, it's a little bit of a darker line because I like it to be a little brighter. And I'm going to, you can see, sort of soften this edge as you do. So you just start to get that general sensibility. Now it can be nice. I'm going to get a little more yellow and white. A little more yellow and white. We're going to make this moon quite glowy.
Glowy moon.
Yes. There we go. Fun stuff. You can see how using the side of my brush, right, kind of blending and feathering it in is very helpful. Put a little value up there. So you can see also by adding lighter and darker values, it begins to carve out kind of a landscape, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And emotional moonscape.
Emotional moonscape, yeah.
Right.
It's very moony.
Very moony. Now I do want a nice clean edge here. So like where I went over, I'm going to clean that up. And it can be nice to make sure that I just grabbed some white, that these edges are distinct. Just took some white in there to make sure it lightens up.
You're going to have to come put the clouds in front of there, yeah?
What?
You'll put the clouds back in front of the cloud?
The clouds back in front of the moon.
The moon, yeah. the moon... The moon goes behind the clouds go in front of the moon. There we go. Otherwise, that moon is flying very close to the Earth. I'll say it right here in a minute.
But you got to get your moon in before you can do that. So
right.
You need some values. But yes, thank you, because I would do it the other way, all on my own. I'm going to come here, and I'm going to add maybe a little bit of a crater. I'm taking some white, and I'm
Eh, that's an important thing. Your clouds can't be behind the moon.
Not ideally.
No, that would
They could be a nebula, space clouds.
you would be having was it a Flash Gordon moment there.
Why not? That's what artists are for, right?
Ming is plowing the moon into Earth once again.
All I'm saying is flash. Ah. Sorry. I'm going to add a little white there. You know, and here's the thing. Yes, we're going to put some clouds in front and we'll lose a little bit of what we paint, right? But it's just easier to get it in now. I'm going to get a little darker orange going. And then we're going to add some dark scape. And you can see I'm just tapping this brush and creating those values.
I like your crater-like object.
Do you?
Yes.
Put a little darkness in that crater-like object is important. Needs a little darkness. Shadow. Probably, you know, in certain areas, again, I want to make sure it's represented, but not so much so that when we get layering, that we don't have a really good time. So now that, my friends, is step 3. Step 4, we're going to resolve this up. We need to make sure this is entirely dry, all the layers for the next part. So here we are, ready to get to that next place. We've gridded our background, we roughed in our sky, we've done our moon, we're on 4. We're going to add another layer of clouds. I'm going to take my phthalo green and my phthalo blue together. And this makes a really terrific color that I love, phthalo turquoise. I'm using my number 8 Cambridge. I may go ahead and put a little white into it so I can kind of see it. And I'm going to work on the corner of my tool, adding this little dark layer. Can you see how this is going?
Yeah. Ooh, those are nice clouds.
These are dark, interesting little shapes. Sometimes I'll bring them up and down. And we want that to initially be quite dark. A little more green in there.
Looks good.
Again, using that corner of the brush, just trying to push in something that's a little bit cloudish. Fun stuff. Green, blue, smidge of white. And quite nice. Quite good. Now, one thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to get into this color and I'm going to add smidge of my yellow and some white just to make a slightly lighter. I'm going to come here at the top. And where I feel the moonlight might be catching the clouds, just on the edge, I'm going to go ahead and lighten that a bit. Now we're doing just a bit. Don't go crazy. Well, you can. It's your canvas. You can do what you like. But my advice would be, this restraint won't hurt you.
Little bit of strain won't hurt.
A little bit. And it is fun to sort of get these interesting little great colors sort of all worked out together. And they do have a nice little layery drama going on. The next thing that we can do is we can get a little bit of our magenta and some white. Underneath this with another layer. Can you see that?
Mm-hmm.
Isn't that fun?
It is.
Trick is to make sure that you're feeling the bank. Feel the bank. As I go back, I'll get more of my magenta and kind of cool this little shape right here.
Mm-hmm.
Just a bit. And it's okay that the turquoise will blend into the magenta. They work really well together, so it's not really a problem. Get a little darker. Looks pretty good. Not
Mm-hmm.
bad. We're having some fun. I may come in with a bit of white, even Naples yellow, but quite light. I'm going to get into this little yellow space right there. Don't want to pick out everything. I do want to get that worked in. So we've got that sort of a little basis, a little thoughtfulness.
Mm-hmm.
Now, grab your number 4 round.
Number 4.
Number 4 round. A little of the turquoise mixed onto it. Some yellow for sure. You want to make all the way green, but you just want something that's quite bright. A lot of white. I'm going to wiggle along the top of this, kind of capturing a little halo.
Oh, wow.
You can even give sometimes an inside little halo just to say, oh, that one's got a little shape, a little something. Now, coming forward, I'll definitely want to add more white into that mix. Kind of see how that's going there.
Mm.
Just highlighting it in there because that's what they do. They get highlighted. Wiggling down like a second little row. This is a nice thing to learn to do. Cool look. And it gives you a lot of drama.
Mm-hmm.
Now we've got to do similar things where our pink is and where our yellow is. I may put out some more white just so that I have some bright, bright color to kind of work from. I'm going to go ahead and take a little of my Naples yellow and my quinacridone. Improve the flow of my paint with water. I'm going to get a lot of white. You can really see it. Sometimes it's a little work to get the brush to dance on just the tip. I think it's always fun to come forward and make levels. So how I do is I'll notice that there's sort of little value runs,
Mm-hmm.
and I just move along them. Like, oh, that's a dark value and it kind of makes this interesting shape, or oh, that's a light value and it makes this other interesting shape. I do need to always add a nice amount of water if I'm not going to use a fluid paint to improve the flow enough for this to work. The flow's got to be pretty good. There we go. Isn't that cool?
Mm-hmm.
I'm on the toe of my brush. Oh, I see a little dark spot there, so I'll come and maybe speak on it a bit with my little white line. Looks okay. Rinse out. And my last thing is right there. I've got the yellow cloud. I'm going to go ahead and take some white. And this will work best if my moon is a dark enough value for the white to show up on it. I'm going to come here.
Yeah, those little wisps that just sort of carry in front, just a little bit here and there.
Make a lot of little drama. Look at those.
Mm-hmm.
Just a little bit. Just a little bit. You can bring the little...
Oh, that's awesome.
Little detailing is quite playful. So, lastly, my 2 cents. And play with your little moon crater.
Mm-hmm. Little
Bit.
Tycho crater.
Huh?
Little Tycho crater.
Yeah, a little bit. I might actually do some yellow in there. I think it's fun to kind of spot it. There you go. And that just creates that. Last thing. Little detail work, right?
Mmm.
Just something to help pull that out from its space. So hopefully what you have is a very dramatic sky with a playful little feel.
Yeah.
So in step 5, we're going to start putting the color of our ocean in. A couple of things to think about is that on the outer edges, it will be our darkest. And as we come down into our corridor of light, it's going to begin to lighten up. We'll get our yellows, our different reflections down in the water. To that end, I'm going to start out. I'm going to use my number 8 cat's tongue just because it gives me a nice point. You could use a filbert. And I'm going to make my turquoise again. Great color for the water. We're going to come back here. And bring that over. Now, I do need a little white into it so I can see it just a smidge. It needs to be dark. Keep your horizon line as level as you can. You can bring it around the side if you want. I'm going to leave my white line because I have to come back and make sure that I continue to enforce shadows. I am being very careful about my water brush strokes being kind of light. Also, the horizontal thing I keep talking about, right?
Because water likes to flow.
It does.
Gravity pulls it.
Gravity pulls it and it likes to flow. Wind, all these elements, they affect
Mm-hmm.
it. It's okay to bring this color forward a little bit because you're going to be doing a lot of sort of weave blending. I lost a little bit of this line here. So I may come in just real quick and put it in because I've really got to come back with a dark color to get the effect of those waves out in the ocean.
Mm-hmm.
You can see I'm protecting that as much as I can. Brushing that in. Cool, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think so too. I really do, actually. I like this sort of implied ripple. Again, I feel like I lost that, so I may come in. Just remind myself that it's there. I remind myself of these things.
That's still the cat's tongue?
Still going to do the cat's tongue because it's got that nice point. But look, you could do a filbert, you could do a round, you can do a bright. It's the brush that you feel comfortable with. Those are always the best brushes. The one you use.
That's right.
That you feel comfortable with. I will not hide from you guys what I'm using. Because that seems like a pointless thing for a teacher to do. Keeping your tools and techniques secret.
I'm going to teach you something, but not the parts that are going to be necessary for you to do what I'm going to show you I'm going to do.
Oh, no, but that's not uncommon in teaching because there's a lot of artists who teach to supplement their income, but their art income is based on their techniques and processes. So it's really interesting as an experienced artist seeing another artist hold back techniques.
That's interesting.
So people's stuff doesn't look quite like theirs. Very actual thing that happens.
Yeah,
A
I guess.
lot. Human nature.
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, it just depends on what you're doing.
Exactly.
Oh,
Where are your goals? What is everything about? What are you trying to achieve with your classes? I think is what it really is.
yeah.
You can see we're getting the turquoise through there.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of moving, meticulously. And that's okay. And I may come here and add another little sort of dark line coming forward. We'll see as we get into it. I may need one. I came forward a little bit far on that, but that's all right. It will weave well with what's there. Very, very well. Even if I come too far forward, it won't hurt me. Won't hurt you either, by the way.
Mm.
Right now, we're just kind of putting in that part of the paint. And this is a really important part of your painting because this is where you're going to set up those ripples in the water, which can be really hard to do.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to actually call this step 5.
Right.
So you can get this laid in correctly, because if you can get this part correct, it will set you up for part 6 to go better for you. So I'm going to come here and I'm going to kind of get back into just a pure blue, maybe with a touch of purple. Making a very dark color. I'm going to just enforce some of those little waves and watermarks. And I'll go ahead and put one kind of back in here because I just think that would look nice.
Mm.
Maybe a little bit of a ripple ripple. And always bring these around. Quite dark. Now, at this stage, I'm rinsing out super well, right? Let's go ahead and make kind of a light color. We're going to take our turquoise that we like, and let's add a good bit of white to it, just for the purposes of this. We're going to come along top of these little waves on the toe. I think I need one there for balance. Just on the toes, just the top of the ripple. Lots of work. We'll blend this in as we go. I think you'll find these little delineations, again, set you up for more success. Yeah, that's going. We have a lot we will be doing along the tops of these lips of these waves.
Paintings in acrylic are nothing if not layers.
Oh, I mean, they don't have to be layers. That's sort of my process and methodology.
That's true.
The one I enjoy, the building up and the revealing of the painting through that process. I mean, I think we're really seeing a process here, right?
Yeah.
And while I'm at this, I'm going to rinse out so much I'm going to rinse out. And I'm going to come in and I'm going to get some yellow. I might mix it with some Naples yellow light, as you do. And I might even grab some white to it. I have to put up some more white. And we're going to begin talking about this going down this little corridor of light. Even as I'm doing this reflection, you can see I'm brushing it out. I will still make sure that those shadows are still there. We can put them back. But it's a super good thing to be aware that they're coming down there.
Wow, those look great.
And this is just very rough, right? We're just starting in, the foundation of what's going on. okay to overpaint the yellow because we're going to come back with some like lightened sea colors and stuff so we can really sort of taper it down in its little V as it goes down. All right. So let's get that there.
That's almost looking surfable.
It's almost looking like, yeah, you could go out there and do something on it. It's a good place to get it to here as we refine more and more of how this ocean is and the reflections are and this amazing kind of oceanscape with a moon. Who doesn't love one of those? We all love one of those. All right, I'll see you back for more water. So now, in this next step, we're going to begin sort of refining some of the aqua and ocean colors that are coming from the outside edge and starting to join into where we have the reflection. We're also going to begin to taper that sort of reflection down, you know, with those other colors. And really, let's start with what was our turquoise, our phthalo turquoise. So that's the phthalo blue and phthalo green. Go ahead and grab a little white, fresh white out. Hopefully by this point you have noticed that you're using about twice as much white as any of the other colors in your...
Why is that?
It just, you will lighten or tint, right? More color than you will shade or tone.
Ah. And there was something about the transparency of titanium white's opaqueness helps with things.
Yeah, you'll find that you grab it to sort of darken things up, or lighten things up and cover things over. It's got a lot of value for everybody into it. I am making sort of short brush strokes, if you'll notice.
Mm-hmm.
This is just to kind of talk about, not to make a big joke, but the shape of water. You know, if you're coming along the wave, don't take out your wave. We're pulling those in. This will be a dance back and forth.
Balancing the two sides of the
water. And, you know, subtle changes make big differences.
Yeah.
So be patient through this stage. Be relaxed through this stage. A good time to just listen to the brush. Make its little marks. Because it wants to.
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe listen to us. Maybe we're keeping you company for our journey.
I'm sort of like, just introspectively thinking about what you're saying there.
Well, I mean, like, tapering this in as we go down. You know, we may be somebody's company while they paint all the paintings, or one of the paintings. Maybe we're just doing one. It's good to have company. That looks pretty nice. I'm going to come back with my phthalo blue and phthalo green on quite a kind of dark level and make sure that I inform the outside here.
Inform it. Let it know that it needs some paint.
I do. I tell my canvas what to do. You super bossy all over the canvas.
Been informed.
It's not even bad. I get to be bossy here and nobody else.
Nobody even minds.
Nobody minds.
There's no one here, like, looking over your shoulders, listening to you, heckling everything you do.
Only me has to deal with that. They don't have to deal with that. Now on the side here, we get to do a fun thing. I love this thing. I'm going to make my turquoise, and I'm going to get my Naples yellow into it. My Naples yellow light. And it makes the most amazing color. I'm going to start it right, kind of maybe a little bit in this range. Just begin it. As I come forward, it will be a much bigger. And a wonderful color. A fantastic color. And it doesn't go all the way to the back. If you'll notice, it's definitely centered into that mid to foreground range of viewing. And we're not taking it to the horizon. As we go forward, I'm going to go ahead and get more yellow, and this time a little bit of white into it. It makes a really delicious next layer of color. Short brush stroke.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of feathering them back.
It's really kind of magical.
I do like it. Picking up that little water highlight and sheen coming down. How awesome is that?
Very awesome.
Very awesome. Okay. So keep playing until you're really happy with your water. We're going to come back and really kind of work on what's happening with the light down the center of the water.
Mm-hmm.
So this light, I'm going to want to add a bit of my kind of more orange values to the outer edge. You know, I've got my yellow coming down here. As I move towards the center, it will get closer and closer to white. I'm going to want to make the lines kind of uneven and irregular, and I'm also going to want to taper it down. So those are my goals.
Goals.
My goals are those.
Good to put the goals out there.
Good to put your goals out there. I'm going to take a little of my cad yellow and smidges of my cad red. Kind of darkens and warms that. And let's add some of these little very short, see how short they are?
Mm.
Brush stroke. Or brush stroke. Coming forward. Short brush stroke. Short, jaggedy little brush strokes, my friends.
Mm-hmm.
Ah, good stuff. Good times. Good times. Okay, to tap some out. You see what I'm doing on the water?
Yeah.
It's a very light little line. I'm just tapping them out. Short little brush strokes. Concentrations are centered. Playful. the map there. Now I'm going to get a little of my Naples yellow, interestingly enough. I'm going to mix it with some of my Cad yellow medium and a little of my white. I have a lovely color. I've got a lot of it. I just want it on the toe of the brush. And now I'm going to start working the center. Again, short little brush strokes. And they can also weave out into the yellow a bit.
Just a little.
Just a little bit. Sorry. Stop goofing around. I'm teaching.
Well, I'm not goofing around. You're goofing.
I'm not goofing around. You're goofing around. You're bad influence.
Okay.
You're the friend my mother warned me about.
Well, you married me.
I did. And she likes you. And again, you can see that I'm just short little brush strokes, right? We do kind of maybe weave them out just a smidge, but that creates that nice something there.
Mm-hmm.
And now, white. I mean white. It's a pop. On the toe of the brush, number 8 cat's tongue. Mostly focaled in the center. Kind of skipping around, creating that highlights. Ain't my happy. Ain't you're happy.
Yeah.
For those of you that remember Kevin the Kraken, this would definitely be a location he would love.
Can only imagine.
Poor Kevin. He's been on vacation for such a long time. You can see that we're, again, doing that taper all the way down, though, right?
That highlight really makes that thing.
Doesn't look super good.
Yeah.
So there you are. I think there's nothing to do
But sign it?
but sign it. Now,
I think so too.
if you have one of the number 1 monogram liners, you can come back and refine these lines to even finer lines and along the tops of the waves if you want. I, however, am going to sign from here just so you guys don't feel that pressure.
And your other brush was actually pretty sharp on those.
It really was. So I like my signature brush, but I didn't want anyone to feel like they had to go out and buy it for this event.
Mm-hmm.
There we go. Well, that was a journey into layers and reflection and wonderful color mixes. Didn't you just love how that went together? I hope it was illuminating to you. Now, as I mentioned in the beginning, this wonderful painting is part of the 30. And tomorrow, I would love to entice you back because we're going to be painting this lionfish. He's easier than you think. I'm going to break down the layers. I think you're going to learn a lot from it. Be good to yourself. Be good to each other. And I want to see you at an easel really soon. Bye-bye.